The earth underneath this neighborhood is moving after those powerful storms saturated the ground. This home and many others like it now destroyed. Philip, Giovanna, take a look. The canyon is here behind me, and the water and the mud that is flowing down is piling up here by these K-rails, but some of it is coming out, rushing down Mill Canyon Road. And then take a look at a distance there. A tree is down. Very scary situation, and guys, cops are still here on this crime scene investigating. And then over my shoulder here, we can still see bullets where a man and a 4-year-old child were injured. Dozens of family and friends gathered here with flowers and candles to grieve the death of the girl who was hit and killed at this intersection by an alleged drunk driver. Mark, take a look over my shoulder and you can see what's left of this violent shooting. The victim's blood splattered there on the sidewalk.
Tim.
Oh, Michelle, you got to watch some of the movies. They are so good this year, so many of them. Well, Oscar preparations are wrapping up. You can see that the plastic is off of the red carpet. However, it is still covering Oscar. A crew member tells me that that is not going to be removed until the very last minute. Absolutely, Mark. And I can just speak as a black man that I am loving the representation that I am seeing in the nominees this year. Diversity is up 4% compared to last year. A third of all of the nominees are women this year, and 7 out of the 20 nominees in the acting categories are people of color, and for all 7, it is their first time being nominated. You know, David, I was 11 years old, and I remember the chase. My family was gathered around the TV watching this in real time. It was shocking.
Hey, Tim, welcome.
Hey, how are you guys? Thank you so much. I'm one of those that could use some better sleep. So good to be with you. Happy Friday. And we begin with the snow and ice alert across at least 15 states.
Tim, let's just start with you. Tell us what we know at this time as we get this information.
So, Kira, this is very late-breaking information, but what we know right now from police sources is that Dwayne Davis has been arrested. He is being booked right now. We don't know what his charges are, but they are forthcoming. And this is someone that is known to investigators. We know so far that the group is demanding justice for Palestine. Students walked out of class this morning, upwards of 200. 50 state troopers were called in to try to disperse the crowd. UT Austin is saying that this demonstration was not authorized. Just 3 miles east of downtown Los Angeles sits a property like few others in the country, and a safe haven, especially for queer youth. Dozens of young people who would otherwise be homeless and food insecure now have a place to call home. This is Los Angeles Room and Board. Students spend a lot of time out here?
Yes, so we do a lot of our events and our programming back here in the backyard.
What is Los Angeles Room and Board?
LA Room and Board is focused on ending homelessness, but really as a tool for college completion so we can ensure that folks get to graduation.
And why is that important?
The California Budget and Policy Center forecasts that by 2030, the LA region will experience a deficit of 1 million college-educated workers. For most of its history, had some kind of altruistic purpose, like a school, a hostel for, for youth and for young women.
LA Room and Board's Dunamis House looks more like a luxury boutique hotel than a typical dormitory or shelter, providing 64-bed spaces for students, an on-site barbershop and cafeteria with a gourmet chef, study areas, and lounges.
I wanted to kind of create the best parts of my childhood, where there were a lot of people around, a lot of noise and activity and laughter, and make sure that people felt like they could be safe.
Researchers at UCLA estimating 1 in 5 community college students, 1 in 10 California State University students, and 1 in 20 University of California students experience homelessness.
38% of the folks who, occupy, the homeless sector are Black people. We only make up 9% of the population here in LA. 40% of the folks who exist in the homeless sector are queer youth.
In fact, the National Coalition for the Homeless estimates LGBTQ youth are 120% more likely to be homeless than non-queer youth.
We're so used to people denying us of being their kids because of our gender expression, of us being, gay, transgender, gender nonconforming. Like, it's always a problem. And so when something's a problem, people are always gonna give you a hard time. And like, I never felt like the parents that I've had accepted me for who I was.
Sherbert Diaz arrived 6 months ago to LA Room and Board after aging out of foster care with no place to go.
What I like about here is like, even the messages that they send, like, come as you are. When I moved in here, I was so amazed. I was so wowed. I've never seen anything like this. This is one of one. Like, this is literally so special.
Protecting queer residents like Sherbert hits close to Sam's heart and his own identity. The Detroit native grew up as the 12th of 14 children in a religious family.
I had some challenges, right? Like, I remember like the moments, you know, when you're born and raised in church, right? And all the sort of like messaging you get about like who you are. Before I even knew who I was, right? And what gay was, I was being called that all the time at home or at school, you know, in the neighborhood. And so I was always like I feel different. Something about me is different. I don't really quite know what it is. I didn't fully have the language at the time to sort of like, and then, you know, looking back in retrospect, you sort of say, well, I understand what it means to be gay now. Then I didn't.
How did you end up homeless?
My dad had this 18 and out rule, right? And I get it. Like, you know, I think it was like economically driven, you know, fewer people in the house, that means fewer mouths he had to feed kind of thing.
After dropping out of high school in the 90s, Sam says he spent the next few years navigating instability, which involved working during the day and sleeping on friends' couches by night.
At the time, Tim, I didn't understand that as homelessness. You know, I just thought it was just like survival.
Eventually getting his GED at age 23 and going even further to earn both a bachelor's and master's degree, and today finishing up a doctoral program. And it was while working as an administrator in student affairs when Sam says he noticed some of his students dropping out of school, not because of the course load, but for shortfalls in financial aid, resulting in their basic needs for food and housing not being met.
Once I understood that and watched that firsthand at Cal State Northridge and at Cal State LA, that's when I said, okay, let me do something about this.
I know that this led to you forming LA Room and Board, but this is a big task, like an undertaking. How did that all come together?
I feel like it was the perfect alignment of the stars, man.
2 weeks before the world went into lockdown during the COVID-19 pandemic, Sam quit his job to focus on launching his vision.
There was a guy named Lewis who's doing similar work to what we're doing at LA Room and Board, and said, hey, there's this lady who has a house right across the street from UCLA. It's a vacant house. It was a former sorority house, and she's really, really passionate about sort of like helping students, and you should meet her. So I met with her, and within 5 minutes of having the conversation, she said, oh, the house is yours. Do what you want to do.
Free.
Free. Basically free, right? We were just started paying just like a small amount of rent and the utilities. To have a house in Westwood, right, which is like adjacent to Bel Air and Beverly Hills, and where we can actually sort of provide some hope, especially during the pandemic where people were really feeling some pain.
The nonprofit, starting a few years ago with just 10 bed spaces, now has nearly 200 in 3 locations across LA. That is amazing. People caught the vision.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and all you need is one yes, is what it sounds like.
Absolutely.
You got your yes.
Yeah, I got a major yes.
Yes, you did. A once $500,000 budget, he says, now balloons to more than $5.5 million a year, supported by a mix of public, private, and legacy donors.
I feel optimistic about our ability to sort of like keep that going, but we always need resources.
Those resources supporting Anasha Venhuda, a junior studying business at Cal State LA. The 25-year-old could not afford an apartment and was couch surfing before arriving here last summer. What has the experience been like?
It's been such a wonderful, supportive experience here. I got my first 4.0 last semester ever because of the support that they provide here. I don't have to worry about like my next meal or, having a roof over my head. And the best thing is like the family environment that they've cultivated here. And I finally feel like I actually have a home for once.
Sherbert, too. The 21-year-old is studying to get his real estate license.
I'm happy now. I found myself. I found Sherbert.
This year, the nonprofit Better Brothers LA, which grants college scholarships to queer youth, honored Sam's work with a Truth Award.
I spent half of my life running away from my truth. And it's just wild to be in this space tonight God, I thank you. Wow.
Coming into this space and sort of like creating this work has given me a sense of purpose that I feel like at any moment, like, God, you can take me now. I feel like I did what I was supposed to do on this earth. I made some difference in my community.
What advice would you give a young queer person looking for their purpose, passion, in a world that sometimes still feels like doesn't accept them?
If you can kind of sift past the noise and find your community of people, because those will be your chosen family, right? And because all of us don't get lucky enough to sort of like have a family that loves us and embraces us for who we fully are. When you don't have that with your biological family, there's a family out there waiting for you, I promise, that will embrace you, that will celebrate you, challenge you, and love you just the way you are.